Hi everyone, I hope you're doing well. It is Wednesday, November 12th, 2025, and welcome to our anxiety support and recovery live stream. I am coming live every day this week to say hello and to welcome you to my channel and to welcome you to support my channel. If you feel impressed in your spirit to donate, to pray, to support, however you feel led, I welcome you this week. Hope you're having a good midweek and things are going well for y'all. I'm still on the hunt for my notes. I know I have notes that I put in one of my notebooks for anxiety. This was actually kind of the base of what I wanted to teach to you guys tonight, because I said I was bringing a teaching, so do forgive me. I'm a little tardy and I'm a little disorganized, but if I don't find them, then that's okay. This is something that I teach quite all the time, so it shouldn't be too hard for me to pull it all together for us. But tonight we are talking about anxiety. So feel free to ask questions and share your... Now I'm looking for a pen. Bear with me, y'all. I'm still getting ready for this live stream. And those are different notebooks. That's okay. I'll just use the notes I have. And I think I have a little bit in this one and then go from there. By the way, my workshop, I am bringing this to us. I'm either going to do it this coming week, which actually is Thanksgiving week, so that might be a treat for us, or I'm going to bring it at the start of December. It is Reflect, Release, Restore. I am holding that workshop for $17 a person, and it is really, really good. It's going to give you the basics. I found it. Yay! I was like, I know it's in one of my older notebooks from like 2 or 3 years ago, but because I was rushing, because I was operating in anxiety, I lost it. I literally flipped through this book like 3 times. I'm not kidding. But yeah, here it is. I'm going to teach from this. This is something, this is actually Soul Strengthening Sessions back in August 30th of 2022. So I'm going to share something I shared before, but it's worth it. This is kind of the foundation of how I teach on anxiety. So yeah, yay, we found it. How is everybody doing? I see y'all hopping in the chat. Welcome to all of you. And I should put my glasses on so I can see you this time. How are we doing, everybody? Awesome. Awesome, awesome. Yes, Ryan, lover of truth. Hello. Pam, I see you. Ben. Awesome. Good to have everybody here tonight. And everybody that's not in the chat, welcome. Okay, so anxiety. This is what we're talking about tonight. This is a support stream for you, and it's a support stream for me. If you feel blessed by my channel, I welcome you to send your prayers, Holy Spirit led and filled prayers, support in any way, and financial donations if that's something you feel impressed in your spirit. All of my stuff's linked in the description of my channel. So yeah, I welcome you. And I am here to support you through your anxiety with this teaching tonight. So feel free to ask any questions, share any testimony, and support one another, especially if you're in the stream, if you're in the chat. Yeah, that's why we're here, to help each other. Or if you're watching this on the replay, because people will come and watch later and they will see your comments and your words have power. So don't hesitate to share them. Okay, so anxiety. This revelation I received in, I believe it was 2019. I was sort of in a very deep season of refinement with my own personal struggles of anxiety. And in my prayers, in my time with the Lord, this is a revelation He gave me, an understanding that He put in my spirit to help me understand the roots of anxiety. Because once I know the roots, then I can pull them out, and then I can have fresh soil to grow those beautiful flowers that I've been dreaming about in the garden of my mind, in the garden of my heart. I'm doing well, Raj. Thank you for asking. How are you doing, and how's everyone else doing? So this is literally, these words were poured into my spirit. And this is how I describe anxiety when I do my teachings, when I do my one-to-one sessions. So brace yourself. This is going to, if nothing else, it's going to impact you and help you have a new perspective or a different perspective with your own personal wrestle with anxiety. So anxiety is the pendulum that takes us to the heights of anger or the depths of depression. Okay, I'm going to read that again. Anxiety is the pendulum that takes us to the heights of anger or the depths of depression. And I feel like the reason this was shown to me in this way was to help us understand that anxiety and depression are connected, yes. And most of us, if we've gone to the doctor or the psychiatrist and they diagnose us with anxiety, and there are so many types of anxiety disorders or conditions, they usually say depression is a counterpart, and it is. However, what we don't tend to understand is that depression is a fruit of anxiety. Okay? But I'm here to propose to take this perspective as well, that anger is also a fruit of anxiety. Okay? So, and I feel like the reason he highlighted this contrast, that anger, the heights of anger, as to say that anger is outward, it's amplified, okay? It's projection, okay? Highlight that word in your mind. Anger is my, or I should say, anger is my anxiety projected outward. Okay? Any of you prone to anger? This is important to know this about ourselves, okay? Or the depths of depression. Okay, so as you can see, depression pulls us inward, anger projects. Where do you fall on the spectrum when it comes to your anxiety? Do you tend to internalize your anxiety? That is to say, it's a quiet battle. You don't really like to talk to people when you're going through stuff. Or you have crying spells. You go into different stages of depression and sadness, really, because that's the root, and I'll get into that in a minute. Or, hi Carter, welcome. Or, do you tend to lash out at people when you start getting anxious and stressed? Okay, this is important to know about ourselves. So I personally, or third, do vacillate between the two. Okay, that's to say that sometimes I project my anxiety and sometimes I keep it, internalize it, and I get depressed. I tend to be more of, I feel like I've had seasons actually, but my nature is to internalize my anxiety. And this is a whole like world of discovery when you understand this about yourself, because there are actually reasons you do this, just like there's reasons that you project it, okay? But the third category that you can be in is you do both. Sometimes you lash out, sometimes you internalize it. But where does anxiety come from? Let's talk about this for a second. Anxiety has a root. It has a spiritual root, and it manifests when it attacks us. Okay, this is why they call it anxiety attack, because it literally is an attack, whether it's spiritual first, because it always is, mental, emotional, or physical, or all of the above. For those of us that have actually acute, chronic, any kind of anxiety disorders, you know this very well. There is a spiritual root, and it is called fear. The spirit of fear, which is assigned to us by the enemy at any given day, time, whether it's convenient or inconvenient, the spirit of fear comes against us, triggers us to be anxious, to feel off kilter, imbalanced, and then of course it triggers our inner brokenness. And this is why we go into these tizzies and spells and spirals of anxiety. Okay? Hi, everybody. Welcome, everybody. I'm glad y'all are here tonight. So think about this for a minute. What makes you anxious? If you were to name a person, place, or thing, what would that be? A lot of times we have these fears that perhaps they have no known source or reason. For example, one of mine is heights. For some reason, I am afraid of heights. Like, don't ask me to go on a roller coaster. Don't ask me to go to wherever that place in China is where you can walk on glass and like there's literally nothing beneath. Don't ask me to do that. I'm not going to. It scares me. And I don't know why. I can't think of something that happened to me that would cause me to be fearful. Even flying in an airplane, it's a little bit unnerving to me. However, there is a root to this, and this is something actually I'm thinking about now. Like, I would like to know where that root of anxiety comes from. But what's yours? What are your roots? This is important to identify for ourselves so that when we're triggered, we can learn how to manage. Okay, and there are different stages to recovering from anxiety, but my first step is to first acknowledge, how do I tend to react when I am in anxiety? Good to see everybody. Hello to all of you. I'm so glad y'all are here tonight. Okay, so let me share a verse in Proverbs. This is actually Proverbs 12:25. And it reads, anxiety in a man's heart weighs him down. Okay, there's other translations that say it causes depression. Okay, why does this happen to us? Anxiety, again, it's a spiritual oppression. I want to say at best, it's a spiritual oppression. Because really the magnitude of your battle will depend on the strength of your spiritual being. If you're not spiritually connected to the source of peace, who is God himself, your anxiety can literally tear you apart because you have no anchor to find strength and peace. So this is important. However, you could be spiritually aligned and still be oppressed by anxiety. But it will not overtake you, and you will not be overcome by it because you have the anchor that you need to pull you out. In this case, the depths of depression, if that makes sense. But, and this is the second part, but a good word cheers him up. So there is a remedy to this. weighing of anxiety in our heart, and it is a good word. Okay, this is why those of us that battle with depression are encouraged to reach out, to not isolate yourselves. When you're going through depression, reach out, call a friend, take a walk, do these things that kind of pull you out of self so that you can have that support that you need to pull you out. And usually, if you think about it, like if your counselor tells you go call a friend, your friend will encourage you, hopefully, as you're going through something. And of course, you releasing it and talking it out is helpful as well. Hi, everybody. Good to see all of you. Good to see you all. Yes, you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. And of course, share your testimony, share anything you'd like. So let's get into this. I'm already 15 minutes in, y'all, and I haven't even gotten started. So let's get into this here. So the inner being, this is what I teach all the time. This is the meat of what I do. I help you on the inner healing journey. I am a mentor. I am a life coach, and I'm a teacher. So I help you on this inner healing journey, and I talk about spirit, soul, and body all the time. So the inner being is spirit, soul, and body. Our heart is part of the soul realm. Our mind is part of the soul realm, and our will is part of the soul realm. And this is where we process anxiety. Again, firstly spiritual, then the soul realm, and then the body. So those of you that actually battle anxiety to the worst degree, you probably have physical symptoms, chronic physical symptoms, or even chronic physical conditions, because the anxiety that you have been carrying has been weighing on you for a long, long time. But I'm here to encourage you, no matter how deep in the trenches you are with this battle, whether you're on medication or you're not, regardless of your age, regardless of anything, you can come to a place where you can take your power back. Okay, and I'm hoping that this teaching and this class, if this is something that you want to do in the future with me, will empower you to do so. So another verse is Proverbs 4:33. Out of the heart flow the issues of life. Our heart holds the issues of life. Okay, and again, it is connected to the mind. And once I understand how the soul realm works, how my soul works, what's in my soul, then I can begin to recover and heal from what I'm going through. Hi, everybody. Kid Wonder says, can I say something to you? Of course you can. I do ask, please be respectful in the chat, y'all, for everyone's sake. But we do also have, sometimes we have, kids in here, and we want to be kind and loving and respectful to them. Okay, so let's get into this understanding that anxiety comes from the spirit of fear. And it is designed to throw us off balance from the harmony of our spirit, soul, and body. So God created us to function in harmony, in peace, in love, in joy. And this world, because again, it is governed by the evil one, the spiritual forces in this world are constantly coming at us and coming against us to disrupt this harmony. And it comes in the form of anxiety. So anxiety attacks the heart. This is why this is important to understand. Anxiety attacks the heart, literally, physically, but it attacks the heart first and foremost spiritually, then mentally, then emotionally, and then and pours into the physical realm. And of course, those of you that know this, you already know what the physical symptoms are. So anything from panic attacks, in terms of the heart, you can have heart palpitations, racing heart, rapid heart rate, and this can happen any time of the day or night, which is the worst. I've had these symptoms before. They're completely, they're the worst. They seriously are the worst. But you might be surprised. Some of these manifestations in your body can come in the form of headaches. I would tend to say if you're somebody who kind of processes life up here in the mind, cerebrally, your anxiety is probably all up here. So you get headaches, you have sort of racing thoughts where you can't get a hold of your thoughts, you're just all over the place. You can't, it's like your mind just won't be quiet. Okay. And I tend to liken this to those of us that are thinkers versus those of us that are feelers, but it could happen to anybody. All of them can happen to anybody. Stomach issues. Okay. You might carry your anxiety physically in your gut. Okay. So you have a lot of stomach problems. Maybe for you, you don't even know why, but this is and could be a manifestation of your anxiety making its way through your body. Fatigue, vertigo, and the list goes on. So oh, I'm so sorry, Kid Wonder, that this happened to you. I'm sorry to hear about your grandma. I know that's a hard space to be, and first of all, I send you my blessings, love, and condolences to you and your family. And it is a challenge. I would encourage you to allow yourself to take all the time you need to grieve your grandma not being with you anymore in this physical world, and understand that this is just the natural part of the grieving process. And everybody grieves differently. Everybody takes different lengths of time to grieve. I would encourage you to embrace if you have times where you just need to cry, or you need to talk to somebody, to just embrace that process. I think one of the things that we might forget sometimes, especially if we have different people maybe encouraging us in different ways, that losing someone that you love is a very personal thing, and we must embrace that process. And I would also encourage you to maybe journal how you feel. If you're more of a private person, this is good for you, so you have that space to express how you feel in a safe way. And I certainly believe that once we leave this earth realm, that we continue to live on. So I believe your grandma is in heaven. She's still here, not physically, but she's still here. So I've taken great comfort when I lost my grandparents, actually, that I could still talk to them, I could still pray for them, and that's what I would encourage you, is just to take your time. Sorry guys, I saw a lot of stuff come in here. And of course, I'm here if you want to talk or you need prayer. Please message me, shesrestored@gmail.com. Mercy, that's very kind. Thank you for saying that. Yes, I am available for one-to-one sessions if you're interested, or if you just need someone to pray with you, or you just need some advice. Yeah, you can message me at shesrestored@gmail.com, and I would be very happy to talk with you. Awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that, Gary. It is painful to have those symptoms, those physical symptoms manifesting. Um, what I will say too with this is this can get really deep, y'all. And when I do one-to-one sessions, you know, we get to these roots of why they're there. Okay, because it's more than just a physical symptom. This speaks actually a lot to how we carry our pain. And this is very unique to just how God wired us, how God created us. I do carry my anxiety in my heart because I'm a very emotional, sensitive person, and I have a lot of love in my heart. So when I'm carrying that pressure and that stress, it's all in my heart. So I do have the heart palpitations. I have the racing heart. I mean, and it's crazy and it's painful. So that does speak to, I think, where you carry it speaks to you as a person, perhaps what you're carrying even in your trauma, childhood trauma, or adult trauma, because all of us have gone through different things at different seasons in our life. But I would just encourage you, yeah, to take extra care of the area that your body struggles with, if that makes sense. Anxiety is a perpetuating, sorry, I think I showed my camera. Anxiety is a perpetuating state of unrest and unease that, if left untreated, will cause serious complications and disrupt our daily life. Any of you been there? I have definitely had seasons where, and I'm still in a season. I can say right now, because I shared this yesterday and I've shared this kind of recently, that I'm in a state or a season, I should say I'm in the season where I'm learning to process the anxiety through my body. And here's another thing I want to encourage you, because you can't rush this process, not without consequences. You want to be gentle with yourself because you're already carrying a lot. You already have the weight and the pressure coming from the outside. And this is easier said than done, probably when you're a little bit older and more autonomous and independent. But a lot of times, you know, if we're hearing too many messages, let's say from friends and families, that maybe they don't agree with how you're handling things, or maybe they think you should do things a different way or whatever, you have to remember that it is your process. It's your life. And ultimately, it's your decision how you are managing, how you're coping. And as I said before, there's different stages to this, okay? But when you're in this place where you actually, you're not running away from it, you're not escaping, you're actually ready to process your anxiety, you're actually ready to understand, okay, this is actually something that's really getting in the way of my daily life. It's getting in the way of my ability to find joy, to, keep a job or whatever it is, because everybody's situation is differently. Be patient with your process. Okay? I completely encourage this for you. How do I combat this awful state of existence? So I'm going to give you a few, literally, I think it's 3. No, 4. I wrote down 4. So I'm going to give you 4 things to take with you. Okay? If you never watch my videos again, you can write these down, and these are going to help you. And the very basic level of managing your anxiety. Number 1, we must acknowledge that anxiety is rooted in fear, and it is a gauge to our present mental, emotional, and spiritual state, and physical. It's a gauge. Okay, anxiety tells me really what's going on with me. if I can really look at it objectively like that, and I have the spiritual strength and wisdom, discernment, I just taught on this, to filter through all the nonsense and all the craziness, I will be able to have insight through my anxiety, what's going on internally, what's going on with me. Okay? Number 2, we must know which direction anxiety tends to take us. Like I said, is it anger or depression? Now, let me get into these stages. So anger is a state, it's an emotional state. In fact, it's the most raw emotional state of its stages. But if I don't deal with my anger, it turns into resentment. And that's harder to manage than anger. If I don't deal with my resentment, it turns into bitterness. And that's harder to deal with than resentment. And if I don't deal with my bitterness, I will have an apathetic, cold heart. And that is, to me, the saddest place that you could ever be. So if you're the type of person that you tend to get angry easily, or you tend to lash out at people and project your anger, or I should say your anxiety through anger, this is important to know about yourself. And of course, there's ways to learn how to express yourself in a more calm and loving way. You need to learn patience. But there's a root to that. There's a root to why you get angry when you're anxious. Now, the depths of depression. So again, depression is a state of sadness, actually. Sadness is the root emotional state. If I don't deal with being sad, I tend to get depressed. And if I don't deal with my depression, it turns into despair, which is a darker stage. And if I don't deal with my despair, it turns into despondency, which is a step closer to completely abandoning myself. So it's important to know, where do you tend to go, or do you vacillate between the two? Knowing this will posture you to manage your anxiety when it attacks. Super important. Number 3, we must know the roots of our brokenness. This is what I teach all the time, y'all, the inner healing journey. Much of the time, anxiety is something that I've carried for much longer than I might even realize. A lot of times your anxiety, you don't even realize why am I anxious? I don't know. I've just always been like this. There's a root to why you're like this. Something happened. Perhaps it's trapped in your subconscious and you have no way of knowing how to get it out or to access it. Again, this is why I do the art therapies, because we access that part of the mind, and that is where you find your freedom and your release. Okay, for the sake of time, I am actually going to number 4. We must address our anxious coping mechanisms and learn how to adjust them in a healthy way. Okay, we all have coping mechanisms to our anxiety. That is to say, when I get anxious, I tend to do this to self-soothe. Okay, and again, I'm going to encourage you, wherever you are, be patient with your process. Okay, if you're somebody who struggles with, let's say, addiction, let's say physical addiction of any kind, you tend to self-soothe when you feel anxious physically. Okay. Now, there can be a healthy side to this and an unhealthy side to this. If you're on the unhealthy side to this, that is to say, you're actually making your health worse by these coping mechanisms, not better. Be patient, and especially as you're beginning to have your eyes open to this, okay? And you can't really shift from the unhealthy to the healthy without having your eyes opened. So, but once you do, be patient with your process as you transition into the healthy side of coping. And we all have these coping mechanisms, and they were designed to keep us alive, okay? We have a natural instinct to want to preserve our life, okay? And to protect yourself from harm. But for those of us that are stuck in one of these 4 stages of the automatic, what's the word I want to use? The automatic default of anxiety. So the typical ones, or the most well-known ones, are fight or flight. And the not so well-known ones are freeze and fawn. Okay, and just for the sake of our teaching, I will go over those. So fight, again, you can kind of actually connect this to what I've been teaching. So fight is the anger. When you get anxious, you fight. Okay, because you're trying to preserve yourself in the threat of the anxiety coming against you. Okay, so you fight. Flight is the opposite. You actually run away. You don't want to deal with what's coming at you, so you run away. Whether it's internalizing it, you run away into yourself, or you have a tendency to kind of abandon conversations or people or whatever it is. Freeze is you disassociate in the midst of it. And this can look all kinds of ways, but you freeze. You don't know what to do when you get anxious. You literally disconnect. Fawning is the opposite. You actually engage. You are looking to make yourself feel safe by fawning. Okay, so let's say in the face of conflict, you instead of leaving it alone, you actually want to engage to make sure everything's okay and everybody's okay and you're okay. Okay, this is fawning. Where are you in these 4 stages? That's important to know. Okay, so let me give you some remedies and then we're going to wrap. These are three. I'm going to give you 3, and then of course the third one is kind of a little more complex and subcategoried. But the first one is breathing. I know it sounds so easy, and really it is. Really it is easy. But it sometimes, especially because it's almost like when you're in a state of panic or anxiety, your body seems and feels hijacked already, that you can't even control your breathing. But this is the first step to helping your body, especially physically, to come back to its natural state. So, breathing, slow, deep breaths, and then grounding. I would add grounding to this, of course, to kind of help you reconnect your physical and your invisible being together. Because I feel like this happens a lot, is there's a disconnect and you kind of feel like I'm not even in my own body. I don't know what's happening. I can't control whatever it is. Breathing. Number 2 is stretching. Simple stretches connect our body and soul, and they help to get realigned. This is something that I'm in the process of reintroducing this to myself, because long story, but my physical health has been at front and center for me as I'm processing a lot of my anxiety physically. But this is a remedy that I stand by. It's a remedy that I recommend, and it's a remedy that I will be teaching very, very soon. So look forward to that, FYI. And then thirdly, art, music, and movement, which we just covered, the stretching, but movement like dance therapy. Art and music are two of the most powerful avenues to process and release anxiety. Again, because music, for example, unlocks muscle memory when we feel anxious or stressed. So listening to music can calm both the soul and the body. And there's so much beauty. This could be a whole class on this, but I encourage you to listen to music. If you feel, especially when you feel like you can't do anything else, listening to music, whether it's something you like or, white noise, pink noise, that is very soothing and automatically transcends you into a calm state. And of course, art, all kinds of art, different forms, I encourage you. So I hope this blessed you. I hope that you took a little something out of this teaching. I will be back tomorrow as promised. And tomorrow I'm going to teach on, I believe it's my Artist Dream Life sessions. Yes, y'all, I'm back. I know it's been a minute. But I'm going to teach on the energy, essence, and existence of your art. So look forward to that. Share this video if you feel led, and I will be back tomorrow. Hope you all are doing well, and I'll talk soon. Love you. Bye.